Hey everyone, it's 3 o'clock. It's Tuesday. That means it's Tech Tuesday. Today's topic, I'm going to be talking about whether there's a future for traditional linear pay TV or if it's all going to be streaming. Be right back. Thanks for joining me. Rick Uzzi here. So a couple of stories that were kind of coming from a different perspective on what the future is of linear TV. What I'm talking about there, when I say linear TV, would be your traditional kind of pay TV service where you sign up, you pay a certain amount per month, and you got a guide where you can search all kinds of programs. That's something that has certainly seen a decline recently. A lot of that due to cord cutting and people going to streaming, but there's different reasons for that. The environment's constantly changing, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But like I say, I saw two stories that were kind of diametrically opposed from each other. So I thought I'd walk through these, then kind of give you my opinion, and also give you a potential solution. So if you are a cable operator today and you're offering traditional pay TV and you're like, do I need to keep doing that? Should I get out of the business because it's costing me money and I'm losing customers? Or maybe more likely these days, you've got lots of service providers that are getting in the business for the first time or thinking about getting in the business with all the broadband dollars that are coming. So, do you want to just be a dumb pipe? What can you offer that over that connection? And TV is one of them. But again, how do you do that in a reasonable way so that you don't make all the mistakes that have taken place over the years with pay TV or traditional kind of pay TV? So talk about that as well. So here's one of the stories. So streaming viewership surpassed cable TV for the first time, says Nielsen. So Nielsen has done a better job of tracking some of these streaming numbers than they were originally. So it says here, streaming viewership reached new highs last month, exceeding cable usage for the first time. So this is the first time that streaming, at least as it's been tracked this way, has exceeded traditional cable TV. The measurement firm today, Nielsen, released its total TV and streaming report for July, stating that streaming represented a 34.8% share of total TV viewing in the US, an increase of 22.6% compared to July of 2021. Now, some of that may be Nielsen, again, getting better at tracking the streaming, but also obviously there's been a big increase in streaming as more people have cut the cord, and even those that haven't cut the cord have signed up for streaming packages. Cable consumption was a little behind at 34.4%, an 8.9% drop from the year prior, and a 2% decline compared to June, and that's again, primarily related to cord cutting, those kinds of things. The new milestone reinforces streaming as a top choice for TV viewers, mainly driven by original content that can't be found on cable or broadcast television. That is one reason that people will sign up for streaming, even if they maintain their cable accounts. So it's that water cooler effect, right? So they'll be at work at the water cooler, or maybe they're at home now working, but they'll be conversing people on social media and talking about things, and people say, hey, have you seen the latest thing on Netflix? This is awesome, you need to check it out. So then people will sign up for that because that's the only place you can get that. July also broke a record with the highest volume streaming weeks, the data measurement firm noted. The average time spent streaming last month was 190.9 billion minutes per week. The week of Christmas in December 2021 was the last all-time high that Nielsen measured, with 183 billion minutes. Note that Nielsen's report only compares programming viewed on TVs and internet-connected TVs, It doesn't measure streaming via mobile or desktop, which would likely make streaming's market share even larger. And I would say definitely yes, because a lot of, your millennials and Gen Zs, Gen Xs, Gen Zs, mostly, probably really Gen Z, are device only, a lot of them, and even millennials. So you could see that being a lot bigger. In fact, streaming on big screens, connected TVs, smart TVs, and gaming consoles represented 77% of global stream minutes in Q1 2022, according to a report by streaming data analytics company Conviva. Content, especially exclusive and unique content, is the key to success of streaming services. The boost in TV viewership is primarily driven by streaming releases across Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, Amazon Prime Video, Disney Plus, and HBO Max. And they show here the breakdown in the numbers. So you see here the 34.8%. And out of that, you had Netflix taking 8% of that, YouTube, and that would be YouTube and YouTube TV, I believe, 7.3%, 3.6% for Hulu, 3% for Amazon Prime Video, 1.8% for Disney Plus, and then 1 for HBO Max. HBO Max had a big boost there when they got a lot of subscribers when they said, hey, this was during COVID, we're going to go ahead and stream first-run movies, at the same time that they're coming out at the theater for a while there. I think maybe even in the midst of COVID, no theater, right? So they started streaming these things at the same time and seeing how that worked, and that did boost. So when things like the Wonder Woman sequel came out and the latest Matrix came out, people were signing up for that to see those programs. What's interesting though is people, they don't, because of these services being month to month, and a lot of it's driven around these particular shows. So it's a lot about the hype about what a particular show is, and then you watch the thing and the season's over and then you're done, and you're paying different subscriptions. So people will switch from subscription platform to subscription platform. So you see that as well. Nielsen pointed to Netflix's Stranger Things season 4, which was pretty awesome, as the main driver, which had almost 18 billion viewing minutes in July. They also had a couple other things like Virgin River and Umbrella Academy, the second season of that. Netflix's founder and co-CEO, Reed Hastings, agrees with analysts that say linear TV is nearing its end. So they're saying linear TV is going to be over. The second quarter earnings call, he remarked, looking forward, streaming is working everywhere. Everyone is pouring in. It's the end of linear TV over the next 5 to 10 years. So that's his opinion, and that's the opinion of some analysts. That's not been my opinion. And that's not the opinion of another analyst that we'll be seeing here in a minute. In the second place, YouTube and YouTube TV had total share of 7.3%, a nice jump from last month's 6.9%. YouTube's live streaming service, YouTube TV, recently reached a milestone of its own, surpassing 5 million paid subs and users with trials for the service. Now, YouTube TV is very much like a linear pay TV offering when you're talking about a cable TV kind of option, because it's got the guide, it's live TV. The difference is that it's over the top. So it's not something that's being delivered over a private network and that kind of thing. So it's just an over-the-top linear pay TV service. So that factored in there, these are people that have got a linear type of service. While the streaming service isn't big on original content, it is a cheaper and arguably better alternative to cable, with access to major broadcast networks, national sports channels, and major cable news channels, all at $65 per month. So again, it's an alternative to the big or even smaller cable companies maybe that are not treating their customers right, or maybe their prices are high, that kind of thing, where it's a very much like a linear pay TV option. So there's still a market for it, obviously, just through YouTube TV, if you look at that. They talk about Hulu here and their share, and Disney Plus and some of the things that they're showing, Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime is an interesting one because people don't think of it as a video service. They get Amazon Prime because they get other kinds of things. They get some free books, but they primarily get the free shipping that they're interested in. So if they're buying stuff quite often on Amazon, they like the free shipping that they get with Amazon Prime. And thrown in with that is the video, so they get to count those as video subs. Talks about HBO Max being under fire. So yeah, they've had some issues later, removed titles. They've been laying off people, so they've had some problems since they did their big launch and the big movies that they were able to broadcast through their Time Warner or kind of partnership. I guess there's some common ownership there in the Time Warner properties and the movies. So that's that take on this. And then there's this other story on Next TV. Cable is back, sort of. Take away the bad interfaces, exploitive billing practices, and horrible customer service, and people really like good old-fashioned pay TV. And this is what I've been saying. And I'm the same way. I like the good old-fashioned pay TV. I like streaming too, don't get me wrong. But I like having a pay TV, let's say a linear TV offering, in addition to streaming services. There's a picture of Jim Carrey from The Cable Guy. All sorts of people in the media and on Wall Street are noticing just how much of the entire streaming ecosystem is starting to look like cable TV again. What's once was old is new again, right? While there seems to be much hand-wringing about how this could happen, there's a relatively simple explanation. People actually liked old-school cable TV and the options it provided. What they didn't like was the way cable companies treated them, the horrific customer service, the confusing bundles and packages, the sadistic interfaces, and ever-rising prices. But the actual service itself, at least in its ideal form, was quite popular. I would agree with that. It gave you a package of hundreds of different channels, the ability to spend hours flipping through them, a high-capacity DVR, and a wide range of video offerings. So what's not to like? Plenty, it seems. Cable's undoing, he says, was largely its own fault because they were largely monopolies, and because there was no sense that cable TV was a necessity on the order of, let's say, electricity or water. Most cable companies fell into the habit of treating their customers like offal. As in, it wasn't all that long ago that the hashtag Comcast sucks was a popular social media meme. Bad behavior aside, there were numerous less subjective features about cable that turned off consumers. First and foremost, with the complete lack of transparency about the terms of the contract, which frequently locked viewers into 2 years and foisted both a landline and a broadband connection on them. This is true. People, the bundle is nice, I think. I think people like a bundle if they want to get their broadband and their pay TV from the same place, and maybe a landline if they want to get that. But they don't like the long-term commitments because, number one, they want to be able to get out of it if the service isn't bad. And then, of course, there's always other options coming up. So they want to make sure they have some flexibility. They don't like feeling locked in. It was never clear when and how you could change your service, cancel it, or even upgrade it. Attempts to get a straight answer on that often constituted an exercise in futility involving hours on a phone, chain, and/or on hold. Then there were the bills themselves, which always seemed to go up. Cable companies were pros at the low price come on that quickly blossomed into a high-priced monthly bill. And a lot of that's related to the commitment, right? So that's one thing about the price increase, was that they'd give you a really low entry point, but then in order to justify having that, they couldn't give you that price and then have you cancel in 2 months, because then they're out the money. They want to give you that low price and at least break even over a period of time, or get a little bit of profit, let's say over 1 or 2 years, and then hope that you continue the service, and then they bump you up and you forget, you're just paying your bill regularly, you forget about it. It goes from, let's say the video service goes from $75 a month to $150 a month, and you don't notice it for several months, and then you call to complain, and maybe they drop you down, but maybe they say, oh, well, you know what, we don't have that anymore, but instead of 150, we can give it to you for 100, and you feel better, right? Because you're getting $25. You're paying $25 more than you were before, but you're not paying $150. So people don't like that. And let's not. Oh, but the other thing with pricing is that you got to give them some break, because some of the pricing is not related to the cable companies, but it's related to the programmers. Programmers keep jacking up their prices. A lot of times they'll bundle channels together, and they'll say, if you take this channel, you got to take the other channels in this bundle. There are certain things like ESPN, you got to take ESPN. If you take ESPN, you got to take ESPN1, then you got to take ESPN 13 and 27, whatever. Put all this stuff together. So that's also making making cable companies, because the programming costs, have to raise their costs just to cover that. And let's not forget about the interfaces, he says, which felt like they had been designed by the Stasi as a means of torturing dissidents. Outdated set-top boxes that were confusing at best, and the technicians who installed them became a late-night punchline in a Jim Carrey movie for their lack of reliability. And still, in the not-too-distant past, around 90% of households had a cable subscription. There are multiple reasons for that. First and foremost is choice. There was pretty much always something on. That's true. And he mentions here 57 channels and nothing on, that Bruce Springsteen channel, or song, excuse me. But there's a lot more than 57 channels, and usually you can find something that's on. And then there was the ease of it. Again, very easy. You just turn on the TV, and you can veg out and just scroll down and see what's on right now. And like I'll tell you here in a minute, you can maybe even look and see what was on like 7 hours ago and watch it. I'll tell you about that here in a minute. You didn't have to think. You just turned on the TV and a show appeared. If you didn't like it, or if a commercial showed up, you could just click to the next channel. Or maybe you could, what I do a lot of is time shift. So I'll start a program late. We might say, well, I'll start this in like 15 minutes, and I'll start the program, and then as commercials come on, I fast forward through them. So that's another way that you can get around those commercials that you may not want to watch. And most important of all, you had a single interface, awful though it may have been, that laid out all of the shows you could watch. And that's a very nice thing, is having that one place you can go to watch everything and not having to find different places to go. Finally, there was the one bill thing. People like having stuff on one bill. If you're paying 4 different subscription services, 5 or 6 or however many, then you've got all these different monthly bills that you're paying. And, what are you watching? Do you need to cancel this one and go to the next one? Those kinds of things. So it says here, fast forward, as cord cutting picked up, most of the cable companies took significant strides to mend their evil ways. Customer service became a priority. Set-top boxes were replaced by streaming devices or apps. Interfaces were modernized, and those completely opaque 2-year contracts, still there, or still here, I guess. So I think a lot of them still have that contract that people hate. So that would be my first advice to any. I'm talking right now, I think, who's MSOs are not going to listen to me, but, independent cable operators, a lot of people who are our customers that are providing the service, people don't like that. I know a lot of you don't do that long-term commitment, but that is something that you want to avoid. What the great rebundling is doing is taking the things that people liked about cable, the choice, the single bill, the top-level overview of what's on TV tonight, and combining them with transparency, the ability to choose a month-to-month plan for certain services, it really should be all services, and giving it to them in a far more user-friendly package along with a much more user-friendly interface. Not to mention a much lower price. And then he says the F in fast stands for free after all. So he's talking about some fast services there. That would be free, I can't remember what it is, free, it's basically free streaming. So it's services like, Tubi is not one. Who is it? Trying to remember the one. Anyway, sorry, it's total mind blank here. But there are these fast services that you can sign up, and they look very similar, like a linear offering. A lot of times it's live TV. You can click on there, but you do have to watch the commercials, and it's free and supported by those ad dollars. Linear channels make a comeback. The return of linear channels on both fasts and SVOD is very much part of the great rebundling. So even some of these streaming videos on demand are looking at putting in, maybe a paid version, more of a free version, or at least ad-supported version where you can get the stuff and watch ads. So they're looking at doing that and bundling as much stuff together. Some of them are coming together with maybe a live option that you can watch stuff that's not necessarily just all streaming. People don't like having to make a decision every time they turn on the TV. I think that's true. Sometimes people, they don't want to say, well, you might say, well, let's say I'm going to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. So you go to Disney Plus and you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then you're like, well, what am I going to do now? Well, let me flip on my linear TV and just see what's on and do that. And he mentions here Spotify and why people like to do that. A lot of times people do want to listen to a specific song or artist, but sometimes they just want to play their playlist on the music and listen to songs that Spotify knows they like, and it'll just play kind of in the background. So he says TV is no different. So why now this change? Well, back when there were just 3 big streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video, it was easy enough to manage them along with a cable subscription, especially since most consumers don't even view Amazon as a video service that they're paying for, as I mentioned, but rather an additional perk of a free 2-day delivery service. But now that we're up to 8 mega SVOD services, people are feeling overwhelmed. They don't like having to go to Google to figure out which service has that new Kaylee Coco show about the flight attendant, or remembering which 6 months free offer is about to expire, or feeling compelled to only watch original series every time they turn on the TV. Hence a desire for simplicity, for a return to something that looks and feels a lot like the old cable TV system, only without all the bad parts. He mentions what to look for coming up here. He says, well, those of us who grew up with cable TV and are no doubt nostalgic for it, that would be me. The key trend to look for is how all those Zoomers and younger millennials feel about the great rebundling. Are they going to gravitate towards the new bundles and linear channels? Or are they just as content to do everything as a la carte offering and not get tied down into year-long contracts? We'll know soon enough, but I suspect that simplicity will win out. And I suspect that too, because I think, again, if you have a linear TV offering that avoids all of the bad stuff, I think a lot of people want that. There are these Gen Zers that, again, they're on their phones, and a lot of them are what we call cord nevers. They never hook up to any kind of wired connection or cable TV. But they're going to mature, and as people mature, they get more conservative. I think their taste will change. As they have kids, I think their taste will change. I don't think they're going to want to be giving devices to their kids at 2, 3, 4 years old. They want to have maybe a TV that they can hook the kids up to, get maybe a linear offering for themselves as they sit on the couch and watch TV, and have the kids watching stuff. I can see that changing, and I can see, again, I think a lot of people do like the simplicity, the ability to watch something when you want to watch it. So I can see linear TV making a comeback. It may not be where it was back in the heyday, but I can still see linear TV for much longer than 5 years out being something that people want. So I did want to mention the fact that we have an offering for this that I think meets a lot of the things that he's saying, really all the things that he's saying, as far as the advantages of a linear pay TV system with all the disadvantages. So our system It's not an over-the-top solution. It is a system that a service provider can get from us that is delivered over their service, only over their service to their customers. So it's not something that anybody can watch over the top. So you get better delivery of service. It's controlled as far as the network and the content that's going over it. So that's one important thing. And then also it's a lot of the flexibility of a streaming service that would be either over the top or video on demand, because it's delivered via IP. It's an IPTV service. It's not a traditional QAM-based pay TV service. So that meaning that you get a traditional guide that you can watch. So again, it's the kind of thing that you can sit down on the couch, flip it on, and you get all these channels that you can watch, the usual stuff that you would expect, all the national channels, sports, local channels. And the really good news is we manage that for you. So you don't need to go out and get the contracts and worry about every year getting renewals and those kinds of things. You got very little equipment that you need in your head end. We will tell you all the equipment that you need there, but it's not like you need satellite dishes and a whole racks of equipment. It's really very little equipment relative to what you'd provide normally or have to have normally in a pay TV service. It was, let's say, QAM-based. What else is there? So it's easy to use. There's no set-top box needed. Customers can get their own Roku device, for example, and our channel is on there as one of the channels, so they can just go ahead and add that channel. You could provide the Roku box if you still want to have that control of being able to provide a device, or they can get their own Roku device. It's right on there. So again, they can stream that way. If they're in their home, connected to their Wi-Fi network, they can stream on other devices like their laptop or their phone. So you've got that flexibility moving around the house. So all kinds of things. It's cheaper than it would be. You'd be surprised. Give us a call if this is something that you're interested in. You see our phone number there. Send us an email. We'll tell you all about it. We can tell you what the pricing is. We can provide all the information that you need. So anyway, this is a great solution. So I really do expect that linear TV is something that is going to continue on. And for you as a service provider, it's important because you want some, as I mentioned, you want some additional services to offer over your broadband network. You don't want to be a dumb pipe. So, we have solutions for that. Like we have a voice solution if you want to provide VoIP for your customers, both residential and commercial, but also this IPTV service. And it provides some stickiness for you. So you're not just a connection, you're getting additional revenue from your customers through this video service. So, and you can also even upgrade them to a higher broadband package because of the fact that they're streaming over your service. But if they just go out and get Netflix and Disney and all that stuff, then you're taking all of that bandwidth on your network, but you're not getting any revenue at all for it. So that's something to consider. The other thing is, by the way, on this, if you get a Roku device, our channel is one of the ones that's on there, so they can pick that, and then they can, on that same Roku device, if they have a Netflix or Disney Plus or YouTube or HBO Max or Amazon Prime or anything else like that, they can just click over and go to that and watch what they want on there. One device, they don't have any confusion. They can watch your IPTV service and these other services all from that Roku box or from the app on their phone. So again, it's very simple to use. All right, well, thanks for joining me. Again, if you've got interest, you see our contact information right there. If this was helpful, just getting this information, if you would, give me a like on the video. If you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button. Make sure you click and ring the little bell as it's kind of demonstrating there to make sure that you get notifications when I'm live. Just do that when you click the subscribe button. You'll see a little bell there. Ring that to get notifications. I'm live every day for either Tech Tuesday or for broadband deployment news, where I talk about the latest that's going on with broadband deployment projects around the country, federal funds, the Infrastructure Act, BEAD Act, that kind of BEAD program, those kinds of things. So make sure you join me for that. And again, if you ring the bell, you'll be notified when I'm live. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.